The mailman doesn't deliver on a Sunday.
If you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
Anthony for three. Bang! J.R. Smith! We just saw men fly. LeBron James with no regard for human life.
Cleveland! This is for you!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coast to Coast. I am Ronan Gaine, flying solo on the pod today. The NBA season has just come to an end. All the seedings are in. There was a little mix-up on the last day of the season. We're going to go through the final standings on today's pod, talk a little bit about the Knicks, because, I mean, of course we have to. They're the number 2 seed. We're going to be breaking down the play-in matchups, and I'll also be making my picks for all NBA teams this year. Before we get into that, just want to thank you all so much for making this your first podcast for NBA coverage. Remember, you are on YouTube. Leave us a comment. Make sure you subscribe. Let us know what you guys think. You're on Apple Podcasts. You're on Spotify. Make sure you leave that 5-star review. You do that, and we'll keep producing the content. So let's just get straight into it. We'll start out in the East. There was a bit more excitement out in the Eastern Conference. Celtics, obviously, as we know, had the 1 seed locked up. Absolutely dominant regular season from them. But everything else was pretty much still up for grabs outside of the 9-10 play-in spot. It was only a minor move, but the Knicks leapfrogged the Milwaukee Bucks to take the number 2 seed. An impressive, hard-fought overtime win against the Chicago Bulls did that for them. The Magic took down the Bucks, which meant that they secured the 5 seed. The Pacers also won their game against the Hawks, putting up 157 points, which means they secured the 6 seed. And that means we've got the 76ers against the Heat in the play-in tournament. And if you told me before the start of the season that the New York Knicks would be the number 2 seed and the 76ers and the Heat will be playing in the 7-8 game of the play-in, I would have thought you were crazy, but that is actually how it played out. I do have to claim my ownership of one of my hot takes coming true, and that is the Indiana Pacers. I called them that they'd finish as the top 6 seed. Yeah, injuries to other teams help, but got that right. I'm gonna take the win on that going down. Before we get into playing matchups, I just want to talk about the Knicks. They deserve unbelievable credit. The way this team that is built, the way Tom Thibodeau has coached this team, the front office, the players, I mean, everything. It's been so bad and so toxic, and everything has just felt so wrong in New York for so long. But this year, it really felt like it all really came together. 50-32, their first 50-win season since 2012-13. They are the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. And they did that despite Julius Randle missing the last 36 games, and he's out for the playoffs. He was averaging 24, 9, and 5. That didn't deter the Knicks. Mitchell Robinson was absolutely dominating the paint, absolutely dominating the offensive boards, which was a huge part of New York's offense early in the season. He missed 50 games. That didn't stop them. OG Anunoby came in. Unbelievable trade. They were 12-2 with him in the lineup. Things were looking so great. Then he went down the same game that Randall went down against Miami Heat. He missed 18 games. He came back for 3, then missed another 9. The Knicks still did not stop. Largely thanks to Jalen Brunson, who we will get into. But I also just want to shout out Josh Hart, like the ultimate role player, the ultimate grind it out, does a little bit of everything, doesn't do anything great, but does that little bit of everything, a coach's dream. The kind of guy, when he's on song, he is just a perfect guy to have out there. Doesn't worry about getting his shot. Doesn't need the perfect situation to succeed. He'll just go out there, play hard. He'll make hustle plays. He'll get assists. He's one of the best rebounders for his size. And you add that into a Tom Thibodeau team where it's just all about hard work. You play as much minutes as you are going to be able to play physically. It's there's no rest time. You've got to play hard for Coach Tom Thibodeau, and that's exactly what Josh Hart does. And he was unbelievable this year, coming in with the triple doubles, just making all around hustle plays. Like, cleaning up off messy plays with being high intensity on rebounds, doing that on both ends, high intensity on defense, and just playing as hard as anyone can play while doing it. There was stretches where he was averaging like 45 minutes a game and he was barely seeing the bench and everything, and he still just played through it and looked unbelievable. The growth we've seen this year from Isaiah Hartenstein, like wow. I was not optimistic when Mitchell Robinson went down about Hartenstein coming in as a starter and playing such huge minutes, but he's been unbelievable. And now the Knicks are in a position where they absolutely have to pay him big money this year because they need to get him back. Miles McBride, he's shown great growth this year, actually looking confident in his shot, actually looking like a legit piece of this offense now, a legit rotation player on this team, even when we are fully healthy. That's a great piece to see him grow the way he has been unbelievable. The addition of Bogdanovich, I think he's going to be crucial in the playoffs now. He's really starting to find that groove scoring. If he's taking like 6 or 7 shots a night and if he's consistently making a three or two, averaging like 12 points a game, like that could make such a big difference to this Knicks team. Then the big guy, that's not Jalen Brunson, the other one, the other Villanova boy, Dante DiVincenzo. What a year. I was so not hot on him when he came into the team. And when the start of the season, it was like, what role is he going to fill here? What exactly do the Knicks want to get from him? And then all of a sudden he breaks into the starting lineup, and all of a sudden he's irreplaceable. He's playing over 40 minutes a game. He's looking great. He's playing hard. You fell in love with him. I mean, he's averaging 15 points a game, 3.5 3-pointers per game, averaging that over season while shooting 40%. Broke the Knicks single season record for 3-pointers made. He was an absolute flamethrower, and he never wavered. Confidence was always there. No matter where his shot was, he was putting them up. And the Knicks really needed that because we didn't have anyone else that was going to do that for us. And having that confidence, not being afraid to shoot the ball, has really paid off for the Knicks and paid off hugely for Dante DiVincenzo. The big ragu, man, he's just been absolutely awesome. Then we get to the top dog, Jalen the Goat Brunson. What a season. I mean, it's been said a million times by media personalities around, but no one knew that he had this level in him. Like the grind he has put in, the work he puts in night and night out to put up the numbers that he's doing. He's fourth in the league in scoring. This is a guy who's 6'1", 6'2", and he's fourth in the league in scoring. 28.7 points per game, 6.7 assists a game, shooting over 40% from deep, shooting over 50% on his twos, which is huge for a guy of his size and the amount of attention he got, especially after Randall went out. Tied the Knicks single season record for 30-point games, finished out the season with another 40-point game tonight against the Bulls. I mean, I don't know what more you can say about him. This is a guy that should be All NBA first team. If I had a vote, I'd be putting him All NBA first team. He has been the best guard in the East, maybe the best player in the East. Like that's how impactful he has been, and the numbers he's put up since Randall went out while OG was out, like he was carrying this team on a whole other level. Like Jalen Brunson, he's that guy we've been missing. He's that guy that New York's wanted. Not about being the face of the league. He's not about being a star. He's about putting in all the work to prove everyone wrong. He feels like he's got that chip on his shoulder. Oh, you think I'm too small? Fuck you. I'm going to hit this shot. Oh, you think you can double team me and I'm not going to be able to make play? I'm going to kick it out to an open guy and he's going to hit the shot. He has got that mentality that you need in New York. There's nothing's going to phase him. He's going to keep doing his thing. And for the most part, no one's going to be able to stop him. Like that's the biggest thing. No one has been able to consistently stop him. And that's when you know you're in that groove, and that's when you're in that echelon of elite players. And thank God the Knicks found him. Thank God they picked him up in free agency. Master stroke by the Knicks front office, and there've been very few of them from the Knicks. So we got to give credit to the front office. We got to give credit to the guys in charge, finally making good basketball decisions. They're finally in a great place in terms of the assets they have and the team that they've already put together. It fits the coach perfectly. They committed to Tom Thibodeau. And then they've done a great job of filling out the roster in a way that they know Todd Thibodeau wants it to be done. It wasn't just, oh, we're going to get the players we want and then Tom Thibodeau can figure it out. It genuinely feels like they've built this roster around their coach, and that just shows everything's aligning within the whole organization. And that's great. Like that is something that New York has been missing for so long, and that's what the best franchises do. Once everything's aligning, then you have the chance to succeed on the court. And that's exactly what we're seeing from the Knicks. They're in the playoffs for back-to-back years. That's huge. That's not something they do very often. They've just claimed the second seed in the East. When's the last time that happened? It's been years, been over a decade. Like, this has been an unbelievable year for the New York Knicks. It's not given enough credit, and I just got to say, wow. My first year coming to New York, and it's like they knew I was coming because they really showed out, and they're gonna cause upsets in the Eastern Conference. At the very least, this New York team is like the next coming of the Miami Heat. They're exactly like they were in the 90s. This is a hard team that plays 150% every night. No team will want to face them. They are going to be a tough beat for any team. Any team that comes out with even any win in any series, any game against the Knicks, they're going to know they've been in a battle. And that's something that a lot of guys don't like. It rubs guys the wrong way. It's something that maybe we think isn't part of this modern NBA. But the Knicks, the Heat have shown it, and the Knicks are also showing it now. Like they're going to be those hustle guys. They're going to be those hard nosed guys that absolutely no one will want to face. But before I get on a complete tangent about the Knicks, we'll flip it over to the Western Conference. The OKC Thunder are the number one seed. The Thunder, the Nuggets, and the Wolves all went into the final game of the season tied. OKC and Denver obviously were very lucky. OKC played a Mavericks team that were already locked into the 5 seed, so they rested all of their starters and like their first usual 3 rotation players. So easy win for the Thunder. Nuggets are playing the Grizzlies, who were obviously massively depleted by injuries. Easy win for the Nuggets. The Wolves, unfortunately, went up against the Suns, and they could not get the win out. The Suns got that W, so the Wolves end up as the 3 seed, having been the 1 seed for a large period of the season, and they will now face the Suns because the Phoenix Suns have managed to escape the play-in. They have caught up to the New Orleans Pelicans, and they are the 6th seed. So we'll have the Timberwolves and the Suns as a 3 and 6 matchup, and also, as we knew already, the Clippers against the Mavericks. They're going to be 2 really fun matchups that I'm really looking forward to. And we knew we were going to get great matchups in the West, and we've definitely got that right off the bat. Lakers secure the 8th seed. This surprised me. After they lost that game to the Warriors last week, I was convinced that the Lakers would probably finish the 10 seed and that the Warriors would actually get up into the 7 or 8 seed. Hasn't worked out like that. The Lakers picked up the wins that they needed. Thankfully, the Suns and another team did the work for them, which meant that the Kings and the Warriors finished as the 9 and 10 seed. Lakers did what they needed to do. They were able to get up into that 8 seed, but unfortunately, they look at it now and they're thinking, if we win this game, we'll have to play the Denver Nuggets, which I don't think anyone will be too excited about. I think the Warriors and the Kings might be just counting their blessings that they are in the 9-10 game. I know they have to win 2 games to get in, which makes it harder, but no one wants to face the Denver Nuggets, especially in the first round. Yeah, you can make the argument you're going to have to face them eventually, but we've seen what the Nuggets have done to the Warriors this season. We've seen what they've done to the Lakers this season and what they did to them in the Western Conference Finals last year. So that just doesn't really fill you with a whole lot of hope for either of them. If they're the teams that come out, that might not be the case. Let's dive into the play-in. Let's take a look and see what we got. Western Conference, the 7-8 matchup, the Pelicans against the Lakers. That was the game today. The Lakers dominated that game. The Lakers won the season series 3-1. They had a couple of beatdowns on the Pelicans this year. That in-season tournament semifinal was a beatdown. Today was a beatdown. they feel comfortable playing against that Pelicans team, and that's a worry for the Pelicans. Pels have kind of stumbled across the finish line. They finished the season 5-5. They got into a great position where it looked like they were going to make the push for the 4 or the 5 seed. But then things just started to derail a bit. Obviously, the injury to Brandon Ingram, that hurt. He came back today, looked pretty good. Didn't play major minutes, but looked pretty good in the minutes that he did play. So hopefully he'll be ready to play more minutes, and we'll be back to normal on Tuesday when these two teams go head to head again. New Orleans are at home. They're 21-19 at home. They're not a great home team. The Lakers also struggle on the road, but of late they've been pretty good on the road. They actually improved their record to 19-21 on the road to finish out the season. They for such a long period of the season, they was like, oh, the Lakers are on the road. Okay, they've lost. Doesn't matter who it's against. Doesn't matter if they were playing the Pistons. You believe that the Lakers were on the road, they were going to lose. But they've kind of flicked that switch that we know that they have, that when it's getting close to the end of the season, they get into playoff mode and they start to win games. They start to play harder. Things just start to look better for them, which, I mean, they're an older team. They're built for playoff success. They're not built for regular season success. Yeah, you'd love for them to have both, but they're kind of all about just being in the conversation when it gets to the playoffs, and they'll be like, we can beat anyone that we need to. And that's the attitude that they had last year, and that's the attitude that they've got this year. They did a great job to get up into that 8th spot. They'll be confident they can beat the Pelicans. The key to this matchup is, of course, the health of Anthony Davis. He went out of the game today with hip and back spasms. Feel like he's had those issues throughout the season, and it's never really been anything prolonged. Hopefully that is still the case. But when AD is not at 100%, he's not at full tilt, that opens the door for the Pelicans, and that's an area they can take advantage, because AD is like everything for the Lakers defense, and he dominated offensively as well. The way he's played this year, and look back to his best, back to like 2020 Anthony Davis, actually dominating on both ends, actually hitting some shots, not just scoring at the rim. So that's the key to this matchup. Is Anthony Davis 100%? Is he at full tilt? If not, the Pelicans, the door opens for them. Yeah, they could still beat them even with AD at 100%, but the way that the Lakers are playing, the form of LeBron, that flicking that switch going to playoff mode, the way D'Lo is shooting, I think the Lakers are just going to have too much for this Pelicans team, and they are going to take the 7th seed and face the Denver Nuggets in the first round. And that's when I'm like, ooh, maybe watch out, Lakers. Maybe lose that first game and beat the Kings or the Warriors. In terms of Kings and Warriors matchup, tough. Kind of fun that we're getting it again after that great series we saw last year. They went head to head in the first round last year. Warriors won the game, or won the series 4-3. They won that game 7 thanks to a 50 bomb from the one and only Steph Curry. The Kings, like the Pelicans, have kind of stumbled across the finish line this year. They've had some crucial injuries. Losing Malik Monk was such a big blow, and losing Kevin Huerter as well. That really hurt this team. That they just lost a little bit of their fire. But again, the game is going to be in Sacramento, and it's tough to win in Sacramento. That crowd is behind them, like the beam, all that stuff. I know it sounds like a load of crap, but it works. That is a hostile environment. You feel confident that the Kings, when they're playing at home, that they can pull out the W. It just feels like that loss of spark with Malik Monk and the form that the Warriors are in. They're 8-2 the last 10 games. They've looked great kind of over like the last month or so. It just feels like the Warriors are just going to have that little bit too much for the Sacramento Kings. How much does the win from last year play on the minds of the Kings? One-off game, like this, both of these matchups, because like the West is so tough, you feel like they're kind of toss-ups, but you're also less like the Warriors have been in better form. and it's a one-off game, and that's when you look at Steph Curry. That's when you look at Klay Thompson. And then you just think they're going to make the shots when they need to make the shots. And that's going to be enough for them to take down the Kings. So again, I'm taking experience over youth and maybe over the better team, over the home team in the 9-10 game. And I think the Warriors are going to be able to get the job done. But the Kings, you're at home, Kings crowd, you got to get behind your team. You got to make that as hostile an environment as possible for the Warriors, which doesn't help when the Warriors have been such a great road team as well this year. Flipping it over to, final point on the West. The team that comes in as the 8th seed, especially if it's the Lakers or the Warriors, they are going to be grateful to come in as the 8th seed and play the Thunder rather than having to play the Nuggets in round one. I know the Thunder have been great this year, and I'm not ruling them out, but the matchups for the Lakers against the Thunder are so much better than the matchups for the Warriors. It's not as dominant as the Lakers, so they don't have a guy like with the size and quality of AD. But I think the matchups are a lot more favorable than they are when they have to play the Nuggets. So I think the whichever team ends up as the 8th seed in the West will be the team more likely to go on a run than the team that finishes as a 7th seed, even though there's so much quality in that play-in tournament. So flipping over to the East, big time matchup in round one of the play-in. 7-8 seeds, the 76ers against the Heat. That's going to be really fun. I mean, they've split the season series, but now Embiid is back for Philly. Tyler Hero is back for the Heat. That brings a big scoring punch that the Heat have been missing for large periods of this season. I can't even remember how long Tyler Hero's been out, but it's been a long time. The Heat, it's so tough to bet against the Heat because you just always think of them as the playoffs are coming. They're just going to start playing better. They just have this within them. I think they benefit more from the longer series because I think Coach Spoelstra can figure more things out and throw more things at the opponent that they haven't seen or they weren't aware of. And that's why I'm leaning towards the 76ers here. 76ers have the home advantage, which is big, and they've got Joel Embiid back. And before Embiid went down, the 76ers team were looking great. Embiid was looking unbelievable. He was averaging more points per game than minutes per game. He was looking as good as he ever has on the defensive end. He was looking like he had the MVP locked up already. Then he obviously goes down and missed a lot of time. But surprisingly, he came back and looked really good. I was like, he's going to take some games to get back up to pace. But he was there dropping 30 points, he was still hitting the shots from those same spots. This is going to be the test. Is Embiid really back? Is Embiid really here? The Heat will test that. They tested it in the game the other week there, and Embiid still looked good, and Philly came out with the win. I think Buddy Hield could be a difference maker for this 76ers team with his shot making ability. Tyrese and Joel together, that's like that's a beautiful dynamic duo. They're gonna play hard. Nick Nurse is a great coach, and I'm looking forward to seeing this tactical matchup between a guy like Nick Nurse and a guy like Erik Spoelstra. It's just a shame we're not going to see it over a 7-game series because I think that would be really, really exciting. So, key for the matchup is Embiid really back? Is the Joel Embiid really here? And are we ready to see Joel Embiid really shine on the playoff scene for the first time, really? Bulls versus Hawks. We've kind of known this is going to be the 9-10 matchup for forever. It seems like they've kind of been cut adrift of the 8th seed and far ahead of the 11th seed for a large period of the second half of the season. Bulls have won the season series 2-1, but the Hawks won the most recent game. This feels like a massive toss-up. Trae Young is now back for the Hawks. The scoring that he and DeJounte can provide, the Bogdanovich, what he can provide as well in just one game. You kind of you look towards that, but then you're also like the Bulls play hard, and we've seen both of these teams turn in performances this year where we're like, how are these teams the 9 and 10 seed? Like they look great. They've had wins like the Hawks. They had those wins against the Celtics. the Bulls have had wins against like the Knicks, they've had wins against the Bucks. They've looked really, really good against a lot of teams that are top seeds in the NBA. So this game, complete toss up. It's going to be fun because the scoring both teams can provide. I feel like the Bulls are more capable of stepping up defensively, especially like you see like a guy like Caruso. If it comes down to like the clutch moments and you're thinking Caruso's on a Trae Young or a DeJounte, they could maybe just slow them down a bit more than anyone on the Hawks could do to DeRozan. I think clutch DeRozan is the key guy in this game. Can he continue to deliver in the biggest moments? Can he continue to be that difference maker for the Chicago Bulls? If he can, I'm going to believe in him having enough to lead the Bulls past the Hawks. But it's going to be tough. It's so tough to make a call in this matchup. I think they've both shown strengths and weaknesses that could really have you turning either way here. I don't think there's a right or wrong pick. It's going to be tight. I'm just leaning towards the Bulls. I'm going to believe in DeMar DeRozan to get the job done in the first game. Whether he'll be able to do it if they end up facing the 76ers or the Heat, I'm not so sure. But in one-off games, you don't want to have to go up against a guy like DeRozan. He's just like a surgeon when he gets into the paint, into the inner quadrant. Like he can just make his shots. He's never sped up. He's never really bothered. He's just always going to get to his spots, and that's just such an important and impressive skill to have, and something that you want on your team, and something you really do not want to be going up against. We'll get into the rest of the playoff matchups hopefully later this week with when I get Chris back on the mic, so we can discuss the matchups together. I know he's going to be excited to discuss and break down the potential matchups that we shall see in the first round. But to bring a close down on the regular season as a whole, it was a good one. It was fun. It was fun to see teams like the Thunder, like the Wolves, really challenge atop the Western Conference. It was cool to see the runs that got teams like the Mavericks went on, teams like the Pelicans went on, the rise that the Suns were able to make after having such bad season and looking like they were going to completely fall off in certain moments. They've managed to save themselves and get into the 6th seed. The Magic and the Pacers being in the top 6, they're going to the playoffs in the East. Like, that's huge for them. Again, two young teams looking to find their way back into consistent playoff seasons. And then the Celtics just completely dominating. Now the question is, was this just regular season? Can they now go on the playoff run? I'm still not so sure. But to finish off today's episode, I'm going to make my picks for the 3 All-NBA teams. All-NBA first team, All-NBA second team, All-NBA third team. So, this is tough this year. There is a lot of guys out there that are deserving of the nod. Some to get their first All-NBA nod. Some should be on higher teams, and they might just have to fall just because of different situations, which is probably fair enough. But we've got the positionless rule this year, which is interesting. It's kind of funny. I didn't try to do it like this, but the way my picks actually worked out, it almost kind of works out in positions anyway, because that's just, I don't know if that's just my mind doing that to me, or it's just the best players end up working out that way as well. So, All-NBA first team, pretty much a no-brainer. Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Nikola Jokic. It's pretty tough to argue that. I would love to put Jalen Brunson in instead of Jason Tatum, but Jason Tatum was the best player on by far the best regular season team, so I suppose you have to give them the nod. You have to give them an All-NBA first team member. Luka, what can you say about him? 34, 9, and 10. He averaged 49% from the field, 38% from deep on a 50-win team. If the Mavs were a position or two higher in the seedings, I think he'd be a dead cert for MVP for me. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I'd give him the MVP. I mean, leading the this young OKC team to the number 1 seed, averaging 36 and 6, shooting 54% from the field. Like, that is insane. Those numbers are insane. He also led the league in steals. He looks great on both ends. He's just such an impressive player. And for me, I think he is the MVP. He's the difference maker for that 1 seed. And I think he deserves the nod. Giannis, obviously the Bucks had a tough year, but you look at him, first player ever to shoot 61% while averaging 30 points. Just insane. 30, 11 and a half boards, 6.5 assists, just delivering all around as per usual. And then Jokic, it's not much to say here. Like, just an insane, the impact he has on winning. 26.5 points, 12 boards, 9 assists, shooting 58% from the field. The 2 seed, he makes such a big difference. He is so valuable to the Nuggets, so I can't knock him winning the MVP award, but he's obviously a dead cert for the All-NBA first team. Then we get the second team, and things start to get a little bit more interesting. Unfortunately, I have to say Jalen Brunson. I would put him as number 1 or on first team if I had a vote, but he has to fall to second team. 4th in scoring. I already talked about him. Absolutely insane year. Totally deserved. Great to see it. If he is not second team, wow, like, everyone who didn't vote for him should lose their votes. Then I got Anthony Edwards. Really started to look like the guy on both ends of the court this year. I think he is a dead cert for All-NBA second team, and I hope he's really going to pop in these playoffs. Then I got LeBron. People might say, oh, LeBron, look what the Lakers did. LeBron's getting in there on merit. No. LeBron averaged just under 26 points, 7 boards, 8 assists, shot 54% from the field, shot 41% from deep. The first player ever to average 25, 7, and 7 while shooting 40% from deep. He did that at age 39 and his 21st season. That's absolutely insane. He still has such a huge impact on this Lakers team. He's still one of the best players in this league and absolutely deserves All-NBA second team. Then I got Kevin Durant. Another great year for him. I still have questions about him not touching the ball enough in the clutch, not shooting enough when we get down to the nitty-gritty of it with the Suns, but still a great year. 27, 7, and 5. 52, 40, 86 shooting splits. Like, he's just such one of the great pure scorers and continues to dominate even at his age. Then I got into for Anthony Davis here. I think he had a real bounce back year. 25, 13, 2.4 blocks per game. Played in 76 games. It's a career high for him. And he really looked back to his best, dominating on both ends, actually hitting shots, not just scoring at the rim. And I think that's made the difference for him in the regular season. It's made the difference for the Lakers in the regular season. And that's what kind of gives you the belief that they maybe can go on a little run in the playoffs like they did last year as well. AD has been such a big part of that, and he's been one of the most dominant centers. Third team. This is where it gets down to the real guys that could easily fall out, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But I went for Tyrese Halliburton, Devin Booker, Steph Curry, Kawhi Leonard, and Domantas Sabonis. Halliburton, this is mainly from early season. He did have a steep drop off when he came back from injury, but he was unbelievable in the early parts of the season and still led the league in assists with 10.9. I think he still deserves this nod. Let this guy get paid. He deserves that extra bit of money. I wouldn't be surprised if he fell out, but he still led the league in assists, and that early part of the season that he had was really remarkable. Devin Booker, 27 points, 7 assists. He took on more of a role as a point guard this year, which some people didn't think was good. That people were questioning all year that the Suns need a point guard. I think he did a pretty good job. Still had that scoring punch, and as a guard, he shot nearly 50% from the field, which is really, really impressive. There is not many guards that do that. He was just below it. His scoring punch is still unbelievable. He is one of the best scoring guards in the league today, maybe the best shooting guard in the league today. He had some monster scoring games, some monster assist games. He's still such a big part of this Phoenix team, and this Phoenix team kind of still feels like it's his, and that's an impressive achievement given that he's playing with Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. So I think he deserves the nod here. Curry, I mean, not much to say there. Dominated in the clutch this year. I think he's going to win Clutch Player of the Year, and was the lead part of a team that was really struggling. He kind of kept them afloat. He's actually kind of dropped off while the Warriors have gone on this great run that they've been on for like the last month or so. But he still delivers in the big moments, and you still always believe he's going to hit those shots whenever it really comes down to it for the Warriors. So that kind of has to give him the nod here. Kawhi kind of dropped off end of the season, but for the large parts of this year, he looked back to the old Kawhi. He was actually healthy and playing throughout the regular season, and in a lot of games, he really looked like that dude again, and that's why he deserves a nod here. And also Sabonis. He had a monster year. I gotta give him credit. Credit where credit's due. He didn't get an all-star nod, but he deserves this spot here. 19, 14, and 8 averages over the season. Led the league in triple doubles and double doubles. I think he's still on his double double run with he's up to over 60 in a row now, which is absolutely unbelievable. Just shows great consistency. And yeah, he's been a top player, and that rounds out my All NBA third team. And those are my picks. I think there's guys like De'Aaron Fox, like Tyrese Maxey, Jaylen Brown, Rudy Gobert. Those are guys I could see making a jump into All NBA. But people talk like Paul George, guys like that. I don't think Paul George deserves to be All NBA. Yeah, he's been good in stages this year, but he hasn't been overly impressive. Jamal Murray, he's a similar guy who hasn't been overly impressive. And then I think there's it's like a 19 player list that really deserve the nod here, and there's a couple of guys where you could say probably from third team down. Maybe you have guys drop from third team to second team, blah blah blah. But I think the first team and second team for me really pick themselves, and then the third team kind of gets down to the nitty gritty of it, and people just have their personal preferences from there. But those are my picks. Let me know what you guys think. That kind of rounds out the regular season. We will be looking forward to the playoffs. The play-in starts on Tuesday. I believe it is the Western Conference matchups on Tuesday, and then the Eastern Conference matchups on Wednesday. And then the loser of the 7-8 game plays the winner of the 9-10 game on Friday. So then Friday night, probably, what is it, around maybe like 12:30, we will know all the matchups for the first round, which of course will begin on Saturday. We cannot wait. We will definitely be looking forward to and doing a breakdown, myself and Chris, of the playoff matchups going into the first round. But until then, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for listening. I know it's tough when you're just listening to one guy, but I hope you enjoyed. All you Knicks fans out there, let's go. Yeah, we have a tougher first round matchup, but we're good enough. We're going to get the job done. Jalen Brunson, I hope you get All NBA first team. And if you don't get All NBA second team, shame upon everyone who has a vote. But remember, we are everywhere at Coast to Coast NBA. And most importantly, remember to take every shot and love every moment.